Hey, what is up guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to talk about 10 of the best aghanim shards that you should be giving a try. I think there's so much to give a go in this patch, and it can be overwhelming. It can be extremely overwhelming. And so I have a couple ideas that I'll be bringing to the channel soon. Well, even, I guess today, the day that you're watching this video, that will give you some clarity on what you need to try in this patch. What's strong and what's not. And yeah, hopefully that will save you time and allow you to win more pubs. So if you're excited for this content, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, get your $50 off lifetime sub right now. It's obviously a limited time offer. There's not much time left, so click the link down below, and I'll see you there. Alright, so let's get into the first shard. I have to start with my personal favorite, which is easily Nature's Prophet. The reason why I think Nature's Prophet is one of the best ags in the game is it's good on every position that Prophet plays. If it's playing off-lane Prophet, or safe lane, or 4, or 5, or mid, it doesn't really matter. When the clock strikes minute 20, you can buy a shard. And the reason why I say this is it's just such a hard counter to the typical counter to Prophet, which is Tangos and Quelling Blade. The reason why Sprout isn't a broken spell is because you can get out of it. Otherwise, it's a 6-second disable. 6 seconds, right? Maybe, like, the other spells that last for 6 seconds in Dota are like Fiend's Grip. And sure, it's not an actual stun, right? But you have to keep that in mind. Being able to trap someone for 6 seconds and have your entire team or you wail on them while they're silenced, assuming you'll have an Orchid by that time, is brutal. And the only way they can deal with it is if they have phase boots. And frankly, not every hero in Dota buys phase boots. In fact, there's a lot of people that think phase boots are some of the worst boots in the game. I'm one of those people. I'm just not a fan of phase boots in most games. But against this Prophet shard, you kind of have to buy it. If you don't know how Prophet shard works, if the enemy is sprouted, okay, they are sprouted, and they Quelling Blade one of the sprout trees, instead of it going away, it turns into a greater treant, which is like a treant with 3 or 4 times the HP and damage. I don't know which one. Frankly, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you can't get out of it. And so essentially, Prophet goes from this hero that needs a hex to lock down certain heroes to just needing a 1400 gold shard that also gives him greater treants. And that is why I think this is easily one of the best shards in the game. It's versatile, it makes sense, it's a hero that can actually afford it and consistently buy it at the 20-minute mark, so I'm happy to put this at one of the best shards in the game. Next up on the list, we have Juggernaut, and I'll actually be doing, I did a Juggernaut analysis for the website. It was basically a game where I picked it up, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give this a go, I'm gonna give it a shot, see how much damage I can do with the spin. Now, what is the Juggernaut shard? Essentially, every second you're spinning, you auto-attack something. Now, you gotta make sure you're actually auto-attacking things you want to auto-attack. Typically with this Ags shard, you want to actually get to the backliners, you want to get to the supports. And when you do that, all of a sudden, spin goes from this extremely mediocre ability that typically mid to late game is only used to engage or disengage. It goes from that to a kill ability for 1400 gold, which is crazy good for a carry, right? Like, Jug has this major problem where if Omni Slash is on cooldown, he can have a hard time killing people. But with this shard, it really alleviates a lot of that problem. And so I'm a huge fan of this shard for the versatility it gives Jug in the mid to late game. I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying it directly at the 20-minute mark. I think there's better options. But buying it around the 30 to 35-minute mark is definitely fantastic and is something you should do. Coming in at number 3, we have Lycan. This one's just great. This is probably my favorite one, to be honest. I would even put this number 1 in terms of like potential strength. And the reason why I say this is Lycan has kind of a weird playstyle. This is a hero that can end the game in 20 minutes, but if you can't, let's say the enemy team has a lot of D push, you're struggling to end the game, well, essentially what can be really nice on Lycan is just having the ability to split up the map. And frankly, this Ags is incredible at that. If you don't know what Lycan Ags does, what it does is every 30 seconds, every time a wave spawns, it spawns a wolf with it. And this wolf gets affected by Feral Impulse now, because Feral Impulse, which is Lycan's ability that gives extra percentage-based damage, is global now. And therefore, these wolves are really, really good at shoving in side lanes. They shove in the side lanes quickly. Most importantly, they get cripple, so they actually cripple the melee creeps that they're attacking. Therefore, it shoves the wave even harder, and it gets you gold. So all in all, it's just one of those shards that it makes sense on Lycan, because let's say you're having a game and you're like, okay, I can't end this game. It's 20 minutes in, I know I can't end the game, I can't just, stomp them. Well, then you want to scale, which the shard actually helps you do. It can help you farm, help you stall the game. It can split up the map so you can, farm various areas as well. And most importantly, it actually puts a lot of map pressure. And for Lycan, it's really nice to have this shard for a big reason that I don't think people necessarily understand. And what that is when you have this wolf, let's say your team is pushing in top and your wolf is shoving bottom. You could say that, well, speed, but then my team will never get to farm bottom because the wolf is always shoving it in. Yeah, but at the same time, the Lycan is largely getting the gold. And most importantly, it's going to force heroes to the bottom lane. They're going to want to respond and push it out themselves. And for Lycan, this is a big thing. Because what does Lycan do best? Well, it's the same thing Prophet does best, and a lot of other micro heroes that have pick-off potential. They pick people off. They split up the enemy team. They create number advantages. And that's what this shard is really good at doing. Splitting the enemy team and creating a numbers advantage so that Lycan can pounce on it. Not like Slark, but you get what I'm saying. And so yeah, I definitely think this is one people would be abusing. So the next one on the list is one I actually had to reconsider and take a second look at as I saw some players using it. And that was the Mars shard. So what Mars shard does, well, it leaves a trail, so it like kind of sets the ground on fire and it slows. But most importantly, it's not that. It's the fact that you can spear 2 heroes. And frankly, it's very easy to hit a 2-man arena with Mars. It just is. It's massive. It's also easy to hit a 2-man rebuke and slow the enemy. And then, because your spear can pin 2 units, you can actually pin 2 units in the arena. And what's really funny that I think happens a lot is, let's say you get a big arena and you really want to spear the enemy Pugna. Well, the Pugna is always going to be behind whatever the frontliner is, right? Pugna's going to be in the back. And so you're going to spear the Pugna, but it's going to hit someone else because he's behind them. And, you know, you just avoid this problem. It's great. Being able to spear 2 people into arena is incredible lockdown, and I think it's something that a lot of Marses are going to pick up, especially if they're going like the utility route. If you're going a Deso-based build and you're going like right-click, I wouldn't recommend picking this up, but if you're going like pipe and, you know, you have a pipe, lads, and a blink, sure, your next item can be a shard, and I think it's a great addition to your kit that gives you a little bit of extra lockdown in team fights. Next up on the list is BLOODSEEKER. So for BLOODSEEKER, what his does is it gives him the ability to basically amp up his blood rage to the point where every single one of his auto attacks does 1.25% of the enemy's max health. The reason why I think this is good is BLOODSEEKER doesn't tend to burst heroes. Even the items that he typically buys, such as Mjolnir and MKB, it's not really a burst item, right? That's just not what it does. And so doing 1.5 of a target's max health is pure damage and healing yourself for that, I think is very valuable. It allows you to man up against tankier targets and carry heroes, and in the late game, your hero can struggle to kill people. It actually is a big problem for BLOODSEEKER. And so I think, you know, having the attack speed from Blood Rage, and, which by the way got buffed by 10 out of levels, and having this shard late game, I wouldn't buy this early on into the game, I just wouldn't. I don't think it's worth it. But late game, I think this is one of the better shards in the game that actually gives this hero scaling potential. And that's why I like this shard in general. I'm a big fan of a lot of shards on heroes that give them the opportunity to scale when they usually couldn't, or kill people when they usually couldn't. Then we have Bounty Hunter, and I'm not going to harp on this one because I really did harp on it in the patch video where I talked about the shards. The reason why this one is good for Bounty Hunter is mostly because of the fact that it just gives vision, and that's what Bounty likes doing. It's just good. Bounty likes giving vision, and it gives vision. And it's like so much vision and movement speed. And by the way, guys, late game movement speed, mid game movement speed largely determine fights. The ability to position and kite the enemy team is so impactful. Like, it matters so much, right? Let's say your Sven can actually stay on top of every hero he goes on. He's gonna kill everyone. Even in this patch, when he has 30% less damage at level 18, he's still gonna kill everyone just because of your shard. And for Bounty Hunter, assuming you're going like the tank build, please don't go Aether Lens. Please don't go Aether Lens. I know it builds into Octarine, and you're probably like, oh, I really want that Octarine. Don't do it. Just buy like a Hood. Hood is only 1,400 gold right now. I think like the best build you can go on Bounty is just become really tanky. So you want to go Tranquils, into Wand, into Windlace, into Raindrops. Then I really recommend Hood. After that, you can even look to build, you know, some HP item. You can build a couple fluffy hats. Pick up some hats, multiple hats, and then the Shard. But yeah, you basically just want to become a ward for your team. That's the idea. Then we have BREWMASTER, and honestly, this is one I have not tried. It just has potential. Like, I feel like this shard just makes sense with how Brew can be played now. And how Brew can be played is you go like Blink into Axe or you go Vlad's into Axe, and you just play around your Axe. Like, because you get 2 charges, right? So how the new Scepter works is on Brew is you get 2 charges of your ulti, and so essentially you always have your ulti. Right? And because of that, what you want to keep in mind is that you want to upgrade it and buff it as much as possible. And so the shard is just that. It gives you a void bruling that gives you astral pulse. It disarms people and slows them for a very large number, right? The slow goes all the way up to 40% in an AoE. That's really good. And then the disarm is 2.5 seconds. And so it's nothing like, I don't think this is one of the best shards necessarily standalone. I just think it makes a lot of sense with the build you want to go on brew right now, which is the Ags. I think it is very viable. It is a bit weird, but has a lot of potential, and so I'm curious to see how pros work this into their builds. Next up, we have INVOKER. I know this one is questionable. I'm questioning it. I do want to put the food for thought on the table. All right, Papa Speed, he's providing the food for Christmas, and that time has come. And the reason why I do think this one is good is Ice Wall is honestly one of the best spells in the game. It's just hard to use. The slow on Ice Wall is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like what, almost 100% at max. It slows you to basically minimum movement speed, which is 100. And so all in all, using this against team comps that don't have force staffs is very strong. So I'd like to make that as like the main point of interest here. If the enemy team doesn't have force staffs and they don't have like glimmers, but primarily force staffs to get out of the Ice Wall, I think this shard is very viable because being able to put down an Ice Wall that separates the safe laners from the supports, right? The frontliner from the backliners, or just catches backliners or even frontliners is very valuable. It keeps them in place and allows you to hit meteor combos. Especially if the enemy team doesn't have force staffs and your team doesn't have disables, this is a really nice way to actually give yourself some setup that allows you to do various combos that don't just involve Meteor. While it is great with Meteor, it's also good with Sunstrike, it's good with EMP, it's good with the new Forge Spirits, right? The fact that you get 2 of them just by putting points in Quas and Exhort. And so all in all, I do think there's some viability here if the situation is right, which I hope I explained. Then we have CHEN! CHEN? Yep, so CHEN gets Recall. I don't know, this bit, I just think it's one of those shards where if you abuse it properly, it is so good. I really do see it like that. If you use it correctly, it is incredibly good, right? Incredibly good. Being able to send a Storm Spirit back to base and gain full mana mid-fight, by the way, and where you can TP back in with full mana and basically have an Aegis is insane to me. And by the way, it's on a 35-second cooldown. Sending people back that consistently to base, especially during fights, and you can save them with it, by the way, right? It's not like relocate where they can stun. It can get purged, right? But that's much less common than a stun, you know? I think there's less purges than stuns. And so essentially you're really strong with a lot of these like high mana HP heroes or heroes that want to reset the fight. It's incredibly powerful. I think it's very strong for just saving teammates as well. For instance, you can initiate with, let's say a Phantom Assassin. You can send her back to base, right? So you send her back to base, you know the enemy team has no purges, okay? You send her back to base, and then she goes in, one-shots someone, goes back to base, and then TPs back in, right? Boom. All of a sudden, you've gotten a kill. There's basically no risk to the PA because of the recall. And yeah, that's the potential. It has a lot of potential. It just requires a lot of communication. So that's why I want to put it later into the video. Then, last but not least, we actually have Phoenix. So for Phoenix, I feel like this one just makes a lot of sense. Having these spirits, I mentioned in my shard video, so that's again another reason why I left it for last, but I mentioned a lot in my shard video. I just think this is one of those ags that makes a lot of sense for the hero. Phoenix is a hero that doesn't need a ton of items. It does like items, but once you get like your Shivas, like you can go earn Veil Shivas. Once you have that, you don't really need anything else to have impact. It's more so around your spells. And so having these fire spirits passively, right, recharging every 7 seconds, gives you 4 spirits every 28 seconds, which is much better than like the 40-second cooldown they're currently on, and you can use them to push waves, right? So later on into the game, Phoenix has this big issue where he struggles to push waves unless he has a Meteor Hammer. Even then, it's kind of weird. So yeah, this Ag's Shard is really great for that. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any shards you guys think are really good, I'm gonna make another one of these videos probably in a few days to a week, just because I want to keep giving people good ideas and, you know, giving everyone good direction with the shards that are actually viable. So if you disagree with me, or you want to add in a little bit of commentary on what is a good shard and why, I'm happy to read them in the comment section down below and experiment with your guys' ideas as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and peace. And we've been waiting a lifetime for this patch. Speaking of lifetime, gameleap is currently doing a $50 off sale on their lifetime sub. So if you're looking for thousands of videos and new daily content every day, you can get a lifetime sub for $50 off right now. This is a special we're doing for the new patch to celebrate. So click the link down below, sign up now. You won't regret it. It's quite a large discount. So I really recommend that you guys take advantage of it, and I'll see you there.